Greenspring. This day is, Thursday, July 20th, 2017. I'm Fran Duval, your host for today, and I'm happy with our first guest is the Finance Director, Ron Taylor, and he's here to give us some updates and talk about things. Hello, Ron.
Fran, how are you?
I'm well, thank you, and I'm delighted that I get a chance to speak with you because we haven't done this before together.
I'm honored, thank you.
I'm sure you've been with other people, but
today is the most important day.
Oh, sure. Okay, you're going to bring us some information about finance.
Sure. Well, I'm always glad when we can look at our financial results for each month and we have positive performance metrics. One of the things that I'm always looking at is how we're doing in comparing to revenue and overall expenses. And it's a great situation when our expenses are far less than our revenue. And that's a metric that we call net operating income. And our net operating income for the month of June is a positive $218,000, which really means that our expenses are far below our revenue intake, which is a great situation for us to be in. Our revenue is typically looked at by our occupancy, so individuals that have moved into the community, as well as the monthly expenses or the rent for my residents. And that's really kind of standard. We don't have a lot of opportunity for occupancy revenue. We do have departmental revenue, so when individuals use our home support services or interior design from general services, that's another stream of revenue for us, but that's not as predictable for us. So when our revenue is higher than our expenses, it really makes our overall metrics look great. So I'm really pleased by that right now.
Speaking of departments, would all the food service things, would that be one of the revenues that you could expect?
Yes, it is.
For guests, or how about the bistro?
All of that is...
And the stores and
correct.
all that. Okay.
All of that is, one of our line items or several of our line items for revenue for each month.
All right.
So dining services, and each of the restaurants has a target, and Ty Wilson, our dining services director, does a great job at trying to make sure how we maximizing our revenue as well as our profits for the restaurants.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you get involved in all the projects that are going on? Like, do you have to set budgets for, say, all these window replacements, or does that all get channeled in through just a department like general service?
There is a collaboration between the finance department and each of the departments with projects. We want to make sure that as we look at things that have to happen around campus, do we have the right budget set? Are we looking at it from a priority standpoint? And we change those priorities based on need. And so there are instances where the executive team will look at, well, we have a project in place today, but based on a critical need that has arisen, let's go back and look at that. So I won't say that I'm involved on a day-to-day basis on some of those larger projects, but definitely involved in trying to set the budget for those and looking at how we prioritize other activities that go on that we have to have capital for.
Okay, so I have a priority for you. The Greenspring Players' next production is in November. We've been promised a second elevator down to that theater for I've lived here 14 years, probably 6 or 7 years. When's that? Is that going to happen for us this year? Do you know?
I will tell you that it actually is budgeted for this year. Lynn Keefe, Chandra, and I are typically looking to make sure that we do well and we deliver on that promise. So it is something that is scheduled. We've gone through many of the planning activities, and so I'm going to knock on wood and say yes, we are going to get that elevator, but I'm not going to give you a date because those dates
we'll try to
slip,
shoot for November 10th or something, will you? Yeah, and the other thing, I remember seeing recently, just a month ago or so, a request for budget requests. Now, does that come out of your office, or does that come out of the council, or where does?
Well, if we look at what we are about to engage upon is our budget planning process for 2018. And so all of our departments, we're asking them to submit their budgets to my department so that we can really start consolidating that and looking at how we prioritize our dollars for 2018. And so those requests typically will go to a department head that is leading those initiatives, and then they come to me for consolidation and then an evaluation of priority. So I'm intimately involved in that process.
Okay, because I know some of the organizations, like the Green Spring Players, we have put in requests for things in the past. And what about, I didn't ask you about the treasure chest. How does that play into the income from that?
Sure. So if we look at treasure chest, the majority of treasure chest dollars will go to fund our BCF, or Benevolent Care Fund.
I see.
And so that is really outside of some of the dollars that we manage.
So we don't use that for any kind of, what do I want to say?
Costs.
What's the word? Yeah, operating costs. Yeah.
Right. So all of the funds from treasure, so the majority of the funds from treasure trust outside of the administrative needs really goes to our BCF, and so that does not go to manage or keeping the lights on.
I see. But do you have that account run out of the finance office?
No.
What is that, a corporate thing?
Well, actually, most of the BCF money is managed out of corporate. So really, we are really a benefactor of that. So when we have an individual that falls in need, we really start that process, but that money is managed by our corporate office.
Okay. What other thing? You were talking about service issues in the finance office. What services do you give us?
Well, one of the things that I'm constantly looking at is how do we deliver the right level of customer service to our residents? Clearly, when people think about the finance department, the first thing everyone thinks about is my bill.
Paying my bill every month, yes.
Is my bill accurate? And clearly, that's one of the big things that we're responsible for. How do we make sure that we are delivering invoices, they're accurate, and they're delivered timely, and we process the payments for our residents? The other side that I look at is making sure that individuals have the right information in their files. They have the ability to manage their activities for any transition from independent living to Garden Ridge or during that move-out process.
Yeah.
So we want individuals to recognize they can come by our office at any point in time, review their files, make sure they're updated. The other issue that I look at is how do we make things as convenient for residents as possible. I look at the bill payment process. Individuals typically having to write a check, making sure that either they drop it in the neighborhood drop box or bring it to the finance office. I'm always trying to make sure that we are pushing the most up-to-date technology, and so automatic bill payment is one of the things we're trying to make sure our residents realize. It is a worry-free process. It is very secure. You have the opportunity to review your invoice before a payment is deducted from your bank account, and it just makes life very easy for our residents as well as for us in the finance department.
When you have automatic payment, I don't do it personally, but
I'll bring you a form.
I don't need it. Anyway, when you have people that are doing the automatic, and you say you don't take the money out of their account until they've had a chance to review, do you have a specific date each month that those withdrawals happen? Or,
yes. So typically the payment withdrawal is going to happen towards the tail end of the month. So in most instances, individuals are receiving their invoices the early part of the second week of the month.
Sure.
The automatic withdrawal from a bank account is not going to happen until somewhere around the 20th of the month.
Okay, well that's good to know.
Correct.
Because that's very important.
Sure.
Because errors are made, and we need to, or questions are put in our mind when we see our invoice. Yeah.
Right, and so we always want to make sure individuals have that opportunity to review the invoice, either reach out to the department that billed a charge that's in question, or reach out to the finance department, and we'll see whatever we can do to help.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, go ahead. Talk about what else you offer us if I come walking in your office.
Sure. Well, one of the things that I'm always trying to make sure we're doing is, service delivery. And so we've implemented within the finance department a push to have one call or one touch resolution. So when you reach out to someone in my team, how do we make sure that we're answering your question immediately or within a 24-hour period? So we're tracking that so that we can kind of come back and talk about statistics.
Good.
Additionally, we've created comment cards. cards that we are placing in our office as well as around campus, so that when individuals have some type of feedback to provide to us, whether it's positive or it's constructive, they have the opportunity to voice that. And we always want to make sure that we can respond to that. So those are some things that we're trying to make sure exist for our residents, so that there is good communication between the finance department and our residents.
I remembered my question now. If a person gets a bill from the medical center, well, it doesn't come from the medical center, it comes from some corporate thing, and they pay that bill, does that reflect in any way in your bookkeeping, or is that strictly somewhere else?
Well, if you're billed directly from the medical center, that would actually be outside of the billing that you receive from Green Spring specifically. So in those instances, they are two separate accounting processes.
Okay. I just wondered.
Perfect. Yeah, so I'll look at it, as I mentioned, our overall goal is to ensure that there is a good relationship and a good level of customer service delivered to our residents. And we want individuals to stop by, ask questions. We're here to provide support and service. And when that service is not where expectations are, I want to hear about it. So that's really why those comment cards are being initiated, as well as pick up the phone and give us a call at any point in time. We're going to make sure that we understand how we can serve our residents better.
You have any new staff over there right now?
We actually...
Since you've been here 9 months,
correct.
You said. So anybody new since you've come?
Well, we haven't hired anyone new, but we have made some adjustments to our staff. So Scott Holden previously was in our purchasing and receiving group over in Garden Ridge.
Okay.
We've recently moved him over to Town Center to provide additional support for independent living. And so he's a new face that individuals will see in the Town Center Finance Office.
Okay, Scott, what was it?
Scott Holden.
Holden, okay.
So you'll recognize him by his extremely long hair, but...
Well, that's nice. Whatever. So our time is really running out here, but anything you have future, I mean, any kind of meetings or town meetings or anything coming up?
Yes, we do. We actually are conducting forums for our residents as we speak. So on August the 4th, if I'm not mistaken, we're having a Transition to Garden Ridge forum, and we ask individuals to bring their families so that everyone understands as that transition.
I brought my son to one of those several months ago.
Perfect. So we have that that's coming up in August. Also in October, we're having a move-out forum. So an individual's transition away from Green Spring, what is that process? So individuals can stop by the finance office. There are registration forms for each of those.
Okay.
We do ask individuals to register so we can manage the head count for those. But they're definitely here to ensure that individuals understand those.
So that's August and October.
Correct.
They'd probably be held in the conference center?
Yes,
maybe?
they are.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
Oh, that's good. Well, Ron, thank you very much for coming on today. I think we managed to get a little information out to our residents.
Sounds great.
And they'll get their second cup of coffee now while we transition into our next guest. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you.